Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com with facts minus fear porn. And on that subject, we're going to talk about Nibiru, Project Bluebeam, and the end of the world, which seems to happen every single year. I was bitten by the fear porn bug a couple years ago, and I learned a lot from that experience, and I hope to share that with you today. And I hope that I can clear up some of the misconceptions about Nibiru and Project Bluebeam, and probably put a smile on your face before the end of this video. So with that being said, I just want to point out that everything that you're about to see is free of charge, open source. You're free to remix it in any format. All I ask is that you support my work on patreon.com/climateviewer, or give a one-time donation on PayPal or GoFundMe. I'd greatly appreciate that. So back in 2012, I was taken by this Comet Elenin. For those who aren't familiar with it, Comet Elenin was supposed to destroy the planet. And there were all of these videos going viral, people going, just going crazy about, the whole idea that the Earth's going to, just be destroyed by a solar flare and all of this stuff, because this comet's going to come between the Earth and the sun. And it was, total fear porn wine. And, the sad part about it was I believed it. I believed it hook, line, and sinker. And, I'm like literally telling my wife, hey, a lot of my friends on YouTube who have, pretty prominent channels are talking about literally going to the top of mountains so that they don't die when this occurs. Maybe we should get out of town. And my wife's looking at me like, you have lost your freaking mind. And when the world didn't end, I was sitting here with my, thumb in my buttocks going, how could this happen? So I spent quite a bit of time updating a very old article that I had written on my previous blog. And you can see it on ClimateViewer.com. Link is in the details. I will drop that in chat for those playing along at home. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see my brother from another mother, Mr. Stone Lee, Osama number 5, Juan Martinez, Ocean's Blue, Adam Spamler, love you, mean it, brother, Jack Ryan, good people, Abe G, Chris Torelli, Justin Cowan, thank you guys for tuning in. Sandra Blessing, bless you too. Spray Can Ann. This is gonna be I just started this the stream, and my daughter woke up, so I had to run in there real quick and handle that. But let's get into this, because there may be some truth to this Nibiru thing, but there's more truth to what I'm about to tell you. So let's blow this thing up, and I'll make it full size. All right, so every year around September, a comet of doom, or Nibiru, is going to destroy our planet. Find out why the fear porn mafia promote this fake news story annually. I did. And, I got this great little graphic. Love it. I was first bitten by the fear porn bug in 2012, and its name was Comet Elenin. The internet was filled with stories of a comet that was going to cause the end of the world, and I bit it hook, line, and sinker. Comet Elenin C2010X1 was supposed to pass between the Earth and Sun, and when it did, a massive solar flare would destroy our home, dubbed the kill shot. After the comet passed by Earth and nothing happened, I had to ask myself, how could I be so stupid? How did I get tricked into believing this obvious fear porn? The answer is simple: Slavespeak. So, for those who have never heard the term Slavespeak, I want you to read this article, It Changed My Life, The Anatomy of Slavespeak, or Mind Control, a field guide to language that maintains the master-slave relationship. And I'll give you a quick couple quotes from there. Ideas are more powerful than guns. We would not let our enemies have guns. Why should we let them have ideas? Joseph Stalin. Language creates spooks that get into our head and hypnotize us. Robert Anton Wilson. It is hard to fight an enemy who has outposts in your head. Sally Kempton. The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Steve Biko. But my favorite quote of all time is on the sidebar of every single page, and it's by Carl Sagan. One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. But even more important was what Patrick Henry said. It is natural for man to indulge in the illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not the things which so nearly concern our temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it might cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and provide for it. That's why it is very important to understand when you're being lied to, and you can do that by understanding the anatomy of Slavespeak. Back to the story. So people use high-level descriptors or words that have multiple meanings dependent on the listener, and they mix a little bit of science in to control you. After learning how Slavespeak works, I went back and read the same material I was previously so scared of and could see the obvious manipulative verbiage. Shortly after this discovery, I deleted more than 200 articles from my previous blog. And you guys can see that it's still up to date. It used to be resonated.net. It's now r3zn8d.wordpress.com. But regardless, this article was right here linked as fear porn. It has been greatly revised in this new iteration. But regardless, I deleted more than 200 articles from my previous blog and created ClimateViewer.com, swearing I would never again get played by fear porn and Slavespeak. And all of my work from that day forward would be based on being as skeptical as possible as not to become part of the problem, i.e., this is a fear porn free zone. Nonetheless, I would like to tell you the story of how I got fooled by tales of Nibiru, Comet Elenin, and the end of the world in 2012, so you can learn from my mistakes. The reason is this. The reason this is so important is that every year a Comet of Doom or Nibiru is coming, meme returns, and the reason is not surprising at all. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Internet video and website hits drop during the summer because kids are out of school. Let me blow this up. Because kids are out of school and people are on vacation. And as Will Smith said it best, it's summertime. Come September, the kids are back in school and the internet hits start to pick up again, and whammo. This year's Comet of Doom rolls out on all the fear porn YouTube channels and conspiracy websites. Why? These people know that people are driven by and addicted to fear, and that guarantees far more hits on their videos and websites, which in turn means more revenue for those willing to participate in the nefarious game of speculation based on fear porn. It pays the bills bigly. So here is the backstory on Comet Elenin and the best rational information I can provide on the entire Nibiru phenomenon. While the idea of Nibiru is cited in cultures from around the world dating back thousands of years, We have absolutely no clue if and when this mysterious destroyer of planets may return, if ever. Nonetheless, I think you will find the references below fascinating, and if you take a pragmatic approach to reading this material, you may come to the conclusion that there may be a Nibiru out there. However, remember, it isn't coming every year, and now you know the reason why. Fear porn, Slavespeak, and advertising revenue. Period. So, for me, this started with something called the Elenin alignment paper. Now, there's this dude from Croatia who says he's the crown king of Croatia, Dr. Mensur Omer Bashish. And he wrote a paper about astronomical bodies lining up and it causing greater than magnitude 6 earthquakes on the planet. So he started to say that Comet Elenin was lining up with like Jupiter and Earth and Comet Elenin and causing an earthquake. And then he started making all these charts and all this stuff and swore that, hey, when this occurs, when Elenin passes between the Earth and the Sun, we could see massive earthquakes. And other people jumped on that and said, well, it could also cause massive solar flares and that could, burn a hole in the whole planet. So stuff got crazy. So here's the paper. And the paper was by Omer Bashish. First version April 2011. Revised August 2011. Published linking astronomical alignments of 3 or more heavenly bodies with a magnitude 6 or greater earthquakes. Its timing, the massive fear porn of 2011, and some of its data led me to suspicion. And the paper was called Astronomical Alignments as the Cause of Magnitude 6 Plus Seismicity. And this is a quote from it. The Elenin will continue intensifying the Earth's very strong seismicity until October 2011. Approximate forecast of earthquakes based on my discoveries is feasible. The demonstration proves my hyper-resonator concept, arrived at earlier as a mathematical physical solution to the most general extension of the georesonator, the Earth thought of as a mechanical oscillator forced by celestial bodies concept possible. Now, that may sound real complicated, but I put in here the idea of terrestrial resonance, and everybody knows my nickname is Resonated, so I'm fascinated with these things. Between heavenly bodies is based on some very old theories known as musica universalis, or the music of the spheres. Omer Bashish is basically using the music of the spheres to predict earthquakes. And here's a quote from an article that was written by somebody, basically, pumping all this up. Many fail to realize that the 9.0 Japan Fukushima quake shifted Earth's axis 4 inches at the Comet Elenin alignment. The water tables reportedly rose in Florida, like with the 8.8 Chile quake, and shifted Earth's axis last year. Story. And, like I say, I've linked every single one of these. You can actually see that did happen. Water table rose to 3 inches after quake, March 20, 2011. But anyway, March 11, 2011 is the same time that the Texas aquifers fluctuated with the 9.0 Japan quake, which now seems more likely to be caused by the Sun-Earth Elenin alignment than the earthquake halfway around the world. In fact, earth change events appear to be escalating like earth wobble with the approach of Elenin object. Now they spelled it ELE capital for extinction level event. So, all of this is like, okay, so we're going to mix a little bit of the truth with this crazy idea this comet's going to do this. Anyway, to back up this theory, Omer Bashish has listed the locations and dates that coincide with alignments resulting in large earthquakes. I Observations. I find it very odd for a scientist to organize his data in the manner presented. It is neither chronological nor by severity, which raises questions about the data chosen for his report. The dates are all over the place, with the bulk of information focusing on 2010, while the remainders seem randomly added. This is odd because if you're trying to establish causality between heavenly body alignments and earthquakes, a much larger sampling would need to be done, as well as contrasting list of magnitude 6 earthquakes that occurred when there were no alignments for comparison. Nonetheless, I do agree that alignment of celestial bodies can create earthquakes. I just have trouble believing that Elenin and similar sized comets or asteroids could enact earthquakes. And that makes sense to me still to this day. I didn't change a line of that from when I wrote it in 2012. If we remove all the extraneous data and focus on the comet, here's what we get. And this is from his paper, and he shows things like Elenin, Earth, Sun, Jupiter, Earth, Saturn, all lined up, 1965, and it caused an 8.7 earthquake. What? 1965? Elenin wasn't even in the solar system. But anyway, moving forward, all these are in 2010. Elenin, Earth, Mercury, Elenin, Earth, Mercury, Earth, Sun, Mercury, Turkey, 6.1. Earth, Venus, Elenin, Chile, 6.6. 7.0 in New Zealand, Earth, Mercury, the Sun, and Elenin. They all lined up. Ooh. So, this was, all over the place, but there were some oddities in there, and I pointed out one already. 1906, Earth, Sun, Venus, Neptune, Earth, Uranus. Why would he go that far back? It just like way out of the range of, his bulk of his data. And there were a couple other ones, 1950, 1957, 1965, and this is one that happened in Rat Island anyway. So, these just seem really weird to me. Anyway, did I hear that right, Doctor? Tiny Comet Elenin was affecting Earth back in 1965. It took a ton of cutting and pasting to create the image above, but it really paints an odd picture. Did Elenin not line up with any heavenly bodies from 1965 through 2007? Why this large gap? Why include the 1965 date? What the hell is a builder block? Because he's got the depth for all of these except for depth, unknown, and builder block. I don't even know what that means. Buldir, B-U-L-D-I-R block. If you actually go to the Rat Island page, you can see that, that's actually got a link. Anyway, we're not going to get sidetracked. This paper predicted a superquake would occur when Elenin passed between the Sun and Earth. Omer Bashish has a website that tracked it all, which is still available today. It's right here, seismo.info. And, he still is tracking alignments, let's put it that way. Uranus, Earth, Venus alignment, and then he'll say, we expect an earthquake here. Full moon, the next one, there's December 20th. I don't know why it's not updated for this month, but, he's saying magnitude 7 is going to occur during this time. Just anywhere on the planet because, they're lining up. So, and then he goes down here and shows where earthquakes occur. Could be some truth to this. Hey, music of the spheres. Okay. But regardless, his website is seismo.info. Still operational today. And then, I got a funny little piece by NDT. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the world to end in 2012 or not. This is kind of funny.
Forward. Thinking.
Okay. The Planets Today is a marvelous work of fiction. Oh, yes. Yes, there is no such thing as Planet Nibiru or whatever they say. It's just fiction. And they cite sources that cite NASA sources. They don't cite NASA. Check the websites, you'll see. And it's all related to the doomsday predictions of the year 2012. Yes, that's what you're getting at. That's behind your question, isn't it? Yes. 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 You want to know if the world is going to end on December 21st, 2012. Because the same website that tells you about Planet X, this secret planet that has a strongly elliptical orbit that will come into our zone in 2012 and knock Earth off its axis, combined with, on December 21st, 2012, that the center of the galaxy, the sun and the Earth, will come into perfect alignment, and the excess gravity will then also tip Earth off its axis, and it'll be end of the world as we know it. This is what these web pages will tell you. Turns out, if you go to December 21st and look at the star charts, it's true. The center of the galaxy, the sun and the Earth, will come into perfect alignment. It will. It's true. It's true. What the site does not tell you is that that happens every year on December 21st. They left that out
Boom.
of the account.
So that's just kind of an example of, yeah, I mean, I know that he's not everybody's favorite, but what he's saying is absolutely right on the money. It happens every year, so of course people that were, pushing this whole, Comet of Doom plus the Maya calendar plus all this stuff in 2012, it just made me mad, like, holy crap, all the coincidences, man, this has got to be real. It's got to be real. I wanted to believe, like I'm freaking Fox Mulder or something. I want to believe. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. So now let's get into some real history, because, this is not just, a one-off, you know what I mean? Like, there have been people talking about Nibiru by many different names for thousands of years. And I really did some digging to try to figure this out, if there's any truth to this. Here's where it gets really interesting. So, this is, of course, an animation of what Nibiru should look like flying through our solar system. And as you can see, it doesn't, stay on the same plane as we are. The idea is that, it's like a binary star or whatever, that it comes in from beneath our solar system and then goes right back out on a highly elliptical orbit. So, what are all the names for Nibiru? Because apparently it's been named many different things over thousands of years. This is from the Old and New Testament of the Bible. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. They had as a king over them angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew was Abaddon, the destroyer, or in Greek, Apollyon, the destroyer. In ancient Egyptian writing, it was also referred to as the destroyer. From Egyptian texts of the Bronze Book, link is provided. These manuscripts are pretty interesting. It is fact known to wise men that the earth was utterly destroyed once, then reborn on the second wheel of creation. 4 times the stars have moved to new positions, and twice the sun has changed the direction of his journey. Twice the destroyer has struck the earth. Interesting. God caused a dragon from out of heaven to come down and encompass her about. The seas were loosed from their cradles and rose up, pouring across the land. This is ancient Egyptian, documents talking about Noah's flood. Literally, the oceans ripping themselves from their beds, and there's proof of that near where I live in the Appalachian Mountains. At the very top of the mountains, there are freaking seashells up there. So explain that. So there is some, physical evidence that there have been these great events in the past. There are more. I could read all this to you. I'm not going to. You read it. It's great. It's really fascinating, but These are all quotes from that one Egyptian manuscripts and creation. Also in the book of Revelation, wormwood. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on the third of the rivers and the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. Okay, so Nibiru has been known as the destroyer, and Wormwood, just from the Bible and ancient Egyptian text. Nibiru actually comes from the writings of the Sumerians and Babylonians, originally spelled with an E instead of an I. You can read all about that. Zechariah Sitchin covered it in great detail, and then really got mad about how people were misusing his research. It was also known as Marduk in Babylonian religion. In Mesopotamia, it was known as the planet of the crossing. And you can see this as a pictograph. Mesopotamian text exalts the planet's radiance and suggested that it could be seen even during the daytime, visible at sunrise, disappearing from view at sunset. A cylinder seal found in Nibiru depicts a group of plowmen looking up in awe at the 12th planet, depicted as a cross, is visible in the sky. The Mesopotamian text spoke of the planet's periodic appearance as an anticipated, predictable, and observable event. The nearing planet, however, was expected to cause rains and flooding, as its strong gravitational effects have been known to do. Like Mesopotamian savants, the Hebrew prophets considered the time of the planet's approaching Earth and becoming visible to mankind as ushering in a new era. The Ojibwa tribe of the Great Lakes called it Long-Tail Heavenly Climbing Star. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the original name of it. It's like Genan Dawayanang in their language. But during the 1980s, Thor Conway visited the Ojibwa tribe and talked to Fred Pine, an Ojibwa shaman. Pine's story about the creation notes of the G word was a star with a long, wide tail that would return and destroy the world someday. He said, "It came down here once, thousands of years ago, just like a sun. It had radiation and burning heat in its tail. The comet was said to have scorched the earth so that nothing was left except the Native Americans, who were warned ahead of time by Chimanito, a holy spirit, and had gone into the bog and rolled themselves in mud to protect themselves from its heat." Pine continued, "It was just so hot that everything, even the stones, were cooked. Giant animals were killed off. You can find their bones today in the earth. It is said that the comet came down and spread his tail for miles and miles. Thereafter, all comets and meteors were treated as serious omens, which required the interpretation of the Ojibwa shamans." So, long-tail heavenly climbing star. That's from the Great Lakes Indians. Herculebus and the Seven Races. Herculebus never comes close enough to physically collide with the Earth, but due to the size, exerts very strong gravitational and electromagnetic forces. The forces cause great natural catastrophes to occur on Earth, such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tidal waves, hurricanes, etc. In addition, Herculebus's gravitational fields cause the Earth's axis of rotation to tilt. Currently, it's tilted at about 23 degrees from its original position, and as Herculebus comes closer and closer to tilting, the tilting will accelerate. This is the result of poles becoming the equator and vice versa. So this is what they call the pole shift theory of the Pleistocene. Won't get into that yet. Also known as the Red Kachina by the Hopi Indians, as mentioned in the Bible, Abaddon, an intensive form of the word destruction, appears as a place of destruction in the Hebrew Bible. Apollyon in Babylonian mythology, the angel of the bottomless pit, the devil. Apollo in Greek mythology. Phaeton in Greek mythology literature, rides a chariot of fire through our solar system, came too close to Earth and burned it. Nemesis in Greek mythology, spirit of retribution against the godless. Nemesis, NASA theory. Also an Isaac Asimov book. You can read all about the hypothetical twin binary star named Nemesis. Planet X by various astronomers and authors, and its relation to Nibiru. Both of these, Nemesis and Planet X. Eris, name given to NASA, the newly discovered 10th planet, was then brought down to being just a dwarf planet. Taish, G1.9, and brown dwarf. All of these are names for the same damn thing. Some kind of astronomical body that on a very long elliptical orbit that ranges between 2,800 to 3,600 years comes through our solar system and either burns away the surface of the planet or causes the poles to shift. So, is there any truth to any of this? Well, a team of guys from Cornell University wrote this paper, Traditions Connected with the Pole Shift Model of the Pleistocene. Therefore, the globe must have turned in such a way that the North Pole was in Greenland. The required rapid geographic pole shift at the end of the ice ages has been shown to be physically possible on the condition that an astronomical object of planetary size and an extremely eccentric orbit existed. In this postulated situation, it was red hot, and a disc-shaped gas cloud reduced the solar radiation on Earth in a time-dependent way. A frequent objection to this hypothesis is the phenomena should be reported in old traditions. This paper quotes the traditions from passages of Platon, Herodotus, Ovid, Papyrus Ipuwer, Gilgamesh, the Bible, American Indians, and other civilizations. Far from being exhaustive examples, the examples show the apparently strange traditions can report observed facts. This connection is of mutual benefit to science and humanities. So if you actually go through this paper, which is freaking epic, they go through all of the history, a lot of which I just talked about, of, the oral traditions of ancient civilizations that talk about this pole shift, this Nibiru, this destroyer, wormwood, whatever you want to call it. It has many names apparently. But here are all of the references that were used from the paper, and you can see, even Albert Einstein's letters to another dude, these are pretty freaking hilarious. The histories of Herodotus, the New American Standard Bible, Papyrus Ipuwer, an additional planet as a model for the Pleistocene Ice Age. Dialogues of Plato, the Antiquities of Jewish People, Gilgamesh, Metamorphosis, long-term behavioral and hypothetical planet in a highly eccentric orbit. This is in German. Understanding the Exodus and other mysteries of the Jewish people. Thera as a fulcrum of the Egyptian and Israelite chronologies. The Egyptian calendar actually changed by several days. It was 360 days a year, and it went to 365. And they actually say that had something to do with Nibiru, or the planet of the crossing. Anyway, you can read through these. Fascinating stuff. I read through most of them. Anyway, the paper seeks to piece together a plausible cause for the past pole shifts and quotes historical documentation that coincides with the pole shift lore. Before computers, people told stories to each other to remember the past. Then one day they wrote that stuff down. This paper documents the oral and written histories of worldwide fires and floods that are associated with pole shifts and Nibiru passings. How Nibiru uproots the oceans, causing Noah's floods. How 7 horns of wormwood, Revelations, and the 7 planets surrounding Nibiru, and how the Egyptians said, thus in a period of 11,340 years, they said the sun had moved 4 times from its accustomed place of rising, and where it now sets, and thence twice had its rising, and in the same place from whence it now rises had twice its setting, meaning the sun went up and back down in the same direction that it came up. So that could mean that the whole planet rolled over, there was some pole shift, but these are actually stuff that were written down thousands of years ago from all over the world talking about Nibiru. So is it possible? I don't know. But let's just do this. So the paper calls Nibiru Z. And I put right there, this paper assumes that Z broke up and was dissolved. The Sumerians believed this as well, claiming that Marduk, also known as Nibiru, crashed into Tiamat and created our asteroid belt. So apparently, according to their lore, that's how the asteroid belt was created, was that Nibiru actually crashed into another planet called Tiamat, and now we have an asteroid belt. The Bible seconds this notion when God said he would never destroy the planet again with floods, and that the rainbow was a sign of his promise. Now let's throw all that out. When could the next near pass of Nibiru occur, if it does exist? Ezekiel 6, now it came in the 13th year of the 5th day of the 4th month, while I was by the river Chabar among the exiles. The heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God on the 5th of the month of the 5th of the year of King Jehoiachin's exile. So I had to do some real research to figure that out. That year is 594 BC. So the last time that this event occurred, apparently, was 594 BC. Obviously, it didn't come very close to the planet, or we would have had the burning away of the planet. So depending on how close this thing comes by the planet, depends on how bad it is for us on Earth. So Herodotus, Volume 1, Book 2, 142. These events occur rarely. It is in this report once in 2,800 years. Herodotus puts the orbit of the great cataclysms at 2,800 years. So it ranges from 2,800 years to 3,600 years, depending on which ancient text you're reading. So 594 BC plus 2,800 to 3,600 years equals the year 2206 to 3006. This could be the next major pole shift or passing of Nibiru. Woot, we are all safe. No more Nibiru worries. Nothing to see here. Move along, people. So, just right there, I just want to point out. Okay, so let's recap. All over the world, many different religions, many different tribal traditions. Ancient people from Greece, Plato, Herodotus. All of these people talk about like Noah's flood. That there were these massive events, and they were caused by comets, suns, or some kind of astrological body. So, is there truth to this? I'm not exactly sure. None of us are sure. We can't be sure till the next one happens, and everybody's got their GoPros and cell phones pointed at the sky as we all die. But regardless, according to all the literature, it ain't coming anytime soon. Just pointing that out for the record. So, interestingly enough, just a little side note, does the Giza pyramids tell us when Nibiru will return? Current research claims that Sphinx at Giza site is an astronomical clock. The nose of Sphinx points at Regulus, if I recall correctly. And no, I didn't check before making this video, so go check it out yourself. And as time passes, the nose of the Sphinx will return to Regulus, signifying the return of Nibiru. 2 videos on that, the clock at Giza, part 1 and part 2. Groaning earth and sky trumpets, loud noises. This is another interesting thing that's been, related to Nibiru. And interestingly enough, from the paper I mentioned earlier, from the Cornell researchers, they talked about Papyrus Ipuwer. This is great. Forsooth, the land turns round as does the potter's wheel. The towns are destroyed. Upper Egypt has become dry. All is in ruin. The residence is overturned in a minute. Years of noise. There is no end to the noise. So I don't know if you guys have heard some of these apocalyptic sounds from around the globe. I did it again. This one's my favorite. So these are known as sky trumpets or earth groans. There are many different videos of these. In fact, if you go to, I've got a little article right here that says read the article. This person literally went through and has a strange sounds map where they've got, 40, 50, maybe 100 videos of people have put out on the internet of these sounds. Now, scientists will explain that these are sounds of, like people working on construction sites in far distant locations, and because it like bounces off the ionosphere and echoes back down, that they're just deeper in frequency. I don't know that I fully believe that theory, but regardless, it's pretty interesting when you check this out. There was something known as the Taos hum. And this is from, the Republic, Michigan and Clam Lake, Wisconsin area, which was Project Sanguine, Project ELF. And basically people were feeling a hum in their brain. So what I ask is the question is, are these sounds actually coming from, things like HAARP? These sky sounds, electric cracking sounds in the sky. And the reason I ask that is because if you look at how HAARP really works, and I'll drop that link in chat, both of these, and here's the map. I'll drop that in chat as well. What you'll see is that basically they're, pumping electricity into something called the polar electrojet. And I'll scroll down to show you what that is. Okay, right about here. All right, so this is the auroral electrojet. And interestingly enough, when I'm looking at a lot of these, videos, they happen to be in these areas, these northern latitudes. So it's kind of interesting that they're doing something called polar electrojet heating, and people are hearing electric sounds coming from the sky. So high frequency ionospheric heaters as virtual ULF, ELF, and VLF antennas. So they send electricity into the auroral or equatorial electrojet, and then they turn it into a speaker in the sky. So could they be using the polar electrojet antenna to create these sounds? You be the judge. I've actually been in discussions with Chris Fallon, the director of HAARP. Supposed to be interviewing him hopefully this month, and I'm going to ask him that, when I do. But regardless, there's a possible cause of that. And then finally, the last explanation are these sounds made naturally by what are called space quakes. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but basically it's, a space earthquake. And the idea is let's kill that music because I don't want to get a copyright strike. That basically pressure builds up and the magnetic field lines on the back of the planet bend until they finally touch each other, and then bam, all of that electricity and ions and all of that stuff just pop down to the surface and cause huge aurora. So interesting thoughts. Space quakes, ELF, VLF facilities, are they the cause of these weird sounds? We don't know, but a lot of people will blame it on Elenin. But let's finish this with the obvious, because this is what everybody always says. The ultimate fear-porn false flag, Project Blue Beam. And this is the original paper that everybody, shows on the internet. The NASA Blue Beam project contains 4 different parts, 4 steps towards implementation of a new world religion with the Antichrist as its head. And I'm not going to read it all to you, but basically the idea is, that we're going to create holograms in the sky to scare everybody into believing that God has come back or there's an alien invasion, and that's the theory behind this whole Project Blue Beam. So interestingly enough, Henry Kissinger said, "Today Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is that all peoples of the world will plead for their world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government." 1992, May 21st, Henry Kissinger address to the Bilderberger Organization meeting, Evian, France. You can read more about that on my New World Order Technocrats and Surveillance State page, where I break down the entire, what I call the New World Order and the Technocrats and their signals intelligence gathering apparatus, Stone Ghost and the 5 Eyes and the 14 Eyes. But regardless, people are, really upset right now, and they're, we've got the Ronald Reagan.
Outside universal threat. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
So there's Reagan talking about, hey, well, what's it going to take? Aliens? Oh, well, then on the Today Show.
Now, an alien invasion, could it really happen? The US military is making plans just in case.
What are the official plans for contact with extraterrestrials? Will they come in peace or war?
An enemy we would know absolutely nothing about.
Well, that's absolutely true, but at the same time, we make all kinds of contingency and war plans against enemies that we never expected to face in combat. And so the idea that maybe the enemy will have something technological or doctrinal that we've never foreseen is something that we try to plan for any way that we can.
Well, obviously, if we did get invaded, these aliens would be much more technologically advanced than we are because we didn't even know they were there. How would you go about fighting an enemy that was just so infinitely superior in technology?
Well, the first thing you'd want to try to do is preserve your forces as best you could. You would want to learn as much about the enemy as
possible. Like hiding underground with your tail between your legs. So, this is a translation of the Serge Monast interview. You can read all about it. I've got 2 videos by them, Project Bluebeam Part 1 and Part 2, where they talk about this. And, you know, in this one in particular,
very near to where Christine had seen the hologram also make a nighttime appearance in Mexico City. Gustavo Camacho and Hugo Yax are photojournalists for Excelsior, one of Mexico's oldest and most prestigious newspapers. On the night of August 26, 1997, Hugo was shooting a test of a red laser beam in downtown Mexico City. And when the laser beam appeared, so did a UFO.
They were shooting the lasers from one building to another. A beam was thrown, and I started taking pictures. I came back to the newspaper to develop them, and I showed them to Mr. Camacho, that we had lights or spots on the film. He told me to process the negatives and develop them again. I cleaned the negative and did the whole procedure again. The lights didn't go away. The funny thing about this situation is that in negative number 2, the points appear vertically. In number 3, they disappear. In number 4, they appear again.
So this is, you know, the modern day blue beam idea that people are going to create holograms in the sky. I found this little jewel in the Air Force 2025 stuff, airborne holographic projector, and it shows right here. The holographic projector displays a 3-dimensional visual image in a desired location removed from the display generator. They show a F-117 stealth fighter projecting another F-117 stealth fighter way over here. The projector can be used for psychological war operations and strategic perception management. Oh man, there's that word, perception management. It is also useful for optical deception and cloaking, provided a momentary distraction when engaging an unsophisticated adversary. Capabilities: precision projection of 3D visual images into a selected area, supports for PSYOP and strategic deception management, provides deception and cloaking against optical sensors. Furthermore, and this is from an operational analysis of Air Force 2025, an application of value-focused thinking to future air and space capabilities. Yes, I read more than just the Owning the Weather paper, but regardless, you have the from the U.S. Army 3D holographic display using strontium barium niobate, and you know, faking an alien invasion would be pretty cool to watch, but that is still a serious stretch of the imagination. Final video: 10 most advanced holograms that are insane. So we've come a long way since, you know, those ideas of the 90s about creating holograms, but we're still a long way, if at all possible, from a Project Bluebeam, you know, making God appear in the sky or faking an alien invasion. So I don't know that that's possible today. Hell, it might be, but I'm not going to be the one telling you, look out, Jesus Christ is going to show up over your house anytime soon. But what's the point of all this? So I want to leave you guys with this conclusion about Nibiru, Project Bluebeam, and all of this fear porn. And it's very simple. Being afraid of Nibiru or any comet or asteroid of doom come lately is a waste of time. If it comes, we all die. If it doesn't come and you waste years being afraid, you aren't living. Just say no to fear porn and realize that all of these people making videos and articles about Nibiru is coming or X comet will kill everyone this year are doing it to control you with fear, for cash in their pockets, and just possibly they are part of a grand scheme to deceive everyone. Project Bluebeam. If you're concerned that elites are building bunkers to protect themselves from Nibiru, watch this final video and giggle. They're screwed too, even if Nibiru is real. And I'll just play just a little bit of this, but it's called Planet X, Blessing or Curse. And it's from a guy whose YouTube channel, Bamboo, I appreciate you, homie. It's from a guy whose entire YouTube channel has been, taken down, but somebody somehow got a copy of this video and uploaded it, and it's hilarious.
Planet X, blessing or curse? There are two futures possible. In one, Planet X is real, and the other, Planet X is not. Let's consider each. When I post a Planet X video, the number of views is amazing. 1,000 views a day. The subject is clearly one that people are interested in. Why? Because they might die. It's like being on vacation and reading and hearing about a large bear that's eating local people, and last night he ate the people who live in the next cabin. You can see why a story about a bear would be interesting. Planet X is no bear. A bear can eat a few people each day and then he wants to sleep. This bear doesn't need any sleep, and he's not satisfied with just one family. He wants to eat every family in every town, and he has a taste for coastal people and those who live less than 600 feet above sea level. This bear has been here before, and he did so much damage that those who might have written it down all died and couldn't. When you're eating bugs to survive, you don't feel much like writing your memoirs for people who will see it 4,000 years from now, almost. The earth has scars that indicate that the bear was here, and he not only ate most of the people, but he chewed up the earth so bad that the earth hasn't yet healed in thousands of years. This is the nastiest bear that we've ever had to bear. Get it? It's a real bear. We humans put too much importance on ourselves. Think of it in this way. If there was a large object the size of a planet, and it was headed for a planet with 100 billion people on it, would anyone in the universe care? Americans are shopping at Walmart. They don't care how many people are dying on a distant planet. Why would we care about people that are 200 light years away? And also, what could we do for them? If we had the technology, would we have important projects to tend to? Sometimes people care for the disadvantaged, and one person might take in one indigent fellow and help him get back on his feet. But how many can you take in before your own situation is tilted out of balance and you become one of them? Where would you put 100 billion refugees? Who would pay the cost of housing them and feeding them? These are questions we should ponder before we assume that we deserve to be saved by outsiders. Our own people would sell us out faster than you can say Democrats and Republicans. Some can't bear to hear about Planet X, and they just try to shut you up by blaming you for bringing them the message of truth. They say that you're not being positive. Well, if Planet X is real, you're probably going to die. Now, how do I say that in a positive way? Do you want the truth, or do you want propaganda to appease you so you can go to work and pay the IRS? Do slaves have a right to know the truth? We have a Congress which is supposed to represent you. Too bad they don't. We have a puppet president who was apparently groomed from birth to be the dictator of the world by the secret government that operates behind the scenes. This secret government that we are all aware of by now uses thousands of government agencies to do their spying, manipulation, and control, to the point that there's no such thing as free elections anymore. They install whomever they want for puppet president, and anyone who doesn't play ball with the controllers just doesn't get in. It's a good old boys network, as corrupt as any you've ever known. We pay NASA to study the sky and the universe, and they betray us. There is no power for the people built into the system so that we can shut off any government agency which is not performing to our satisfaction. We have a terrorist scam agency, TSA.
Anyway, so please watch this video. It's at the tail end. I'm going to drop the link in chat just for all you guys who are tuned in. Dominic Marama, you see him in chat, weathermodificationhistory.com. Dominic's a good friend of mine, longtime friend. We do weathermodificationhistory.com together. He gave me the link to this video, and I giggled my ass off all the way through it. And the point they try to make is this: that if at the end of the day, Nibiru is real and it comes back, and all of the elites, all of these evil, selfish people are in bunkers underground, they're screwed. I mean, it's like they're still so screwed, and he gives 100 reasons why. So at the end of the day, he says, is it a blessing or a curse? What would you rather do? Go quickly and be burned up, burn up when it comes through, or would you rather die slowly drinking your own piss in a bunker? And I fully agree with the guy's logic. I wish I could have seen some more of his videos. Apparently, his channel, all of his videos are gone, but some brilliant soul re-uploaded this. So I hope that you guys will check out the article and share it. Share this video, give it a like and a thumbs up, if you enjoyed it. And remember, there's no point in being afraid of dying if you're not living. And if you're not living well, you only have the time that you're given right now. And there are people who are, addicted to fear. They're gonna be, afraid. They're gonna be addicted to fear porn videos. And the people that make those fear porn videos know that they're going to get a lot of hits doing it. I could make a whole lot of money on YouTube if I'd just be scary as hell every day. But because I got played, back in the day, I will not be part of that problem. And that's why I dedicate myself to talking about the climate changers, geoengineering, people hacking you on the daily basis, geoengineering, pollution, privacy, and propaganda. And this, in my personal opinion, is propaganda. So don't be played, don't be scared, and don't give in to, the fear porn, because at the end of the day, propaganda is, alive and well. And, it's on my page, climateviewer.com/propaganda. Please read The Anatomy of Slavespeak. It'll change your life. And remember that fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to suffering. So end fear, uncertainty, and doubt with climateviewer.com. Get off the mental plantation. Learn Slavespeak. And do not be manipulated by people using perception management, neuro-linguistic programming, false left-right paradigms, and, as L. Ron Hubbard said in Technique 88, the Scientologist himself, the only way you can control people is to lie to them. And you're not going to get any of that on climateviewer.com. You're certainly not going to get that from me. So I hope you guys will continue to support my work on patreon.com/climateviewer, or a one-time donation on PayPal or GoFundMe. I'd greatly appreciate that. Sharing is caring, so please share this video especially to anybody who is just scared to death that Nibiru is going to burn their ass up. Or if you see any video about Nibiru, or, whatever the comet of doom come lately, usually in September, when the kids are back from school, you can share this video in the comment section of their videos and hopefully save some people from going through what I went through. So love you guys, mean it. Lens thing question, I don't know what that means, Juan. Sorry, dude. You talking about my glasses, my lenses? But yeah, we plant trees. 5G sucks. Love that. Yes, trees will interrupt your 5G problem. So plant as many trees around your house as possible. My house is covered in them. I live in Sumter, South Carolina. We have lots of trees and no 5G. So guys, It's been an epic video. I've been wanting to make this for quite some time, to put this Nibiru thing to sleep. And, you know, you can look through the history. You know, there is many history. Thanks, All-Seeing Eye Guy. You should go to my About page and watch the video about that All-Seeing Eye. And you know why I have the All-Seeing Eye? Because, bitch, I see everything. I saw what you did last summer. I see the lies that go on YouTube by people who claim to be activists. I see everything on ClimateViewer 3D simultaneously. So do I have an all-seeing eye? You damn right. This redneck from South Carolina has an all-seeing eye. And that is because I view the climate, the political climate, the climate change bullshit, and all of it. I saw what you did. So guys, love you, mean it. Remember that with this information comes power, and with power comes great responsibility. So all I ask is that you use this information to attack ideas, not people. Thank you, Brother Stephen Mercer.